the deep end. Appreciate y'all coming and hanging with us. You know, today we're going to romp through the deep end where constellations of questions are generated over and over with no real answers. Like dancing at the end of a rainbow. So maybe that's what we're going to do. And what did I do this week? I have to say I have had the best time having a conversation with ChatGPT, my local AI representative. And basically what we're going to talk about is the big what the fucks. So I got to hit the little, there is cussing on this thing, and it's basically the great WTF. What are they? You know, when I asked my AI friend, what is the deepest metaphysical question, I was happy to hear that we were already on this one. So A and I lined up perfectly. And of course the question is, why is there something instead of nothing? And what AI said is that this question probes the fundamental nature of existence itself, challenging us to consider why anything exists at all rather than an absolute void. It invites the exploration of the origins of and purpose of the universe, the nature of being, and the reasons for existence, if any. It is a question that transcends empirical investigation and enters the realm of philosophical inquiry. I love it. And I didn't stop there. I said, okay, so what's the deepest what the fuck? What is that? And AI said, what if everything we know or believe or perceive is fundamentally wrong? I really love this one, you know. And what she said is the question challenges the very foundations of our understanding, pushing us to confront the possibility that our entire perception of reality could be an illusion, a simulation, or based on false premises. It's a question that taps into the existential doubt, cognitive dissonance, and the limits of human knowledge, leading to a profound sense of uncertainty and bewilderment. As I was in this chat, I could not help but think of the Buddhist imperative, how do I know I'm not just a butterfly landing on a leaf and dreaming the whole life that is me? Who knows? But I didn't stop there. I said, oh, let's narrow it down a little bit more, you know. So what are the three biggest, I basically said, would you list the three biggest what the fuck questions? And this is what she said. What if we're living in a simulation? Now, this idea suggests that reality could be an artificial construct, possibly created by an advanced civilization or even by further versions of ourselves. It raises questions about the nature of existence, free will, and the purpose of such a simulation. And of course, if there's advanced civilizations, why are they there and not? Again, and I have to say, part of the deep end is our delight and facing the anxiety that comes with addressing and dancing with these unanswerables. Another of the big three is what happens after death. And this mystery we've talked about over and over. It's one of the most profound questions in human life. You know, afterlife, reincarnation, or simply nothingness. The uncertainty and lack of definitive answers make this a perpetual what the fuck for all of humanity. You know, as I talked with AI, I realized there's a whole deep end aspect to her that I do enjoy. And the third question of the big what the fucks is, are we alone in the universe? And the question of whether humanity is the only intelligent life in this vast universe, or other civilizations. And this has far-reaching implications. The possibility of other life forms, especially if they are more advanced, is both thrilling and terrifying. Ain't that the damnedest truth? These questions kind of strike at the core of our understanding of reality, existence, and our place in the universe. So I went ahead and I said, this whole question of why is there something other than nothing is really keeps coming out as the big what the fuck. And we've talked about that here at the deep end, and it's both, again, anxiety inducing and somewhere between that and a maniacal laugh. I mean, I guess we can't really answer it, but AI broke it down into different categories, which I really thought was cool. Regarding why is there something other than nothing, philosophical, philosophers argue that nothingness might be an unstable or impossible state. Perhaps existence is simply the default state of reality. This could suggest that the existence of something doesn't require an external cause. It's just how reality is. Duh. And now the theological perspective. Now, a lot of traditions offer explanations that center on the idea of a creator or divine being. In this view, God or a similar entity chose to create something from nothing, and this act of creation explains why there is something rather than nothing. And I really love the Hindu version where Vishnu is sleeping on an anaconda in the sea of bliss and dreams all of this. And there's mechanisms within that model that show how that happens. But that's pretty much it. We're living inside a dream. Merrily, merrily, merrily. We float along. And then there's the scientific perspective. Some scientists propose that quantum mechanics could allow for the spontaneous creation of matter and energy. In the quantum vacuum, fluctuations could give rise to particles leading to the emergence of something without a need for a preceding cause. However, this still doesn't address the laws of physics and why they exist at all. So we keep getting to the point where the paradox keeps turning around, kissing its own ass, if you will, which... And I have to say, I delight in this stuff. I feel like I'm crawling to the edge of a huge precipice and looking down and trying to not get vertigo. Realizing at that edge I couldn't stand up without getting vertigo and falling over, and that's why I'm crawling to it. So the fourth piece that AI suggests is the mystical tradition, which might suggest that the question itself is beyond human understanding and that existence is a mystery that cannot be fully grasped, through logic or empirical investigation. From this viewpoint, something exists because it is meant to, and this meaning is intrinsic in the fabric of reality. Again, the paradox bending back on itself. I love this stuff. And the existential perspective is basically, some existentialists argue that the question itself is a reflection of human curiosity and the need for meaning. Something exists because we are here to question it, and our questioning gives rise to the sense of mystery and wonder about it. Yeah, okay. And ultimately, this question remains open-ended, and each perspective providing a different lens through which we can view the mystery of existence. So, what the fuck? You know, the whole concept of us being here, we've talked about here at the deep end that's really what we're looking at, those things and processes that life and existence can't do without. The hows and the whys of things. The how is the mechanisms of it, basically. The why is the purpose and the point of it. And these are things where, we're chasing our butts here at the deep end, as well as scientists and philosophers and poets and existentialists. These great what the fucks, they've been there since very early in human development. So I just threw out a whole lot. I have to say I really have enjoyed AI. I've had a number of conversations with her and asked her to write some lyrics for songs at some points, and these deeper pieces with no answers, the puzzled pieces of life is is the deepest place the deep end can go. There is no deeper place because it's bottomless, if you will. So I'm here with my cohorts. Bob Hayes is coming to us from Florida. Marianne Rudis is coming to us from Spokane Valley. I'm Red Hawk, and I am coming to you from Spokane. That's in Washington State. And so, Bob, I'll start with you. What the fuck?
Well, I'm going to muddy it up quite a bit here.
It's pretty muddy, Bob.
Yeah, it is, and it's going to get muddier. AI is not an entity in and of itself.
Well,
And
neither's my computer, but I gave her a name.
Yeah, there you go. That's cool. But there's not a single AI. And I don't know, I believe you went to ChatGPT.
Yes.
That's one. There's probably at least a dozen different ones that are accessible in various different ways. And let me preface by saying AI depends on its knowledge base. And someone is creating that knowledge base, assembling different philosophical theories, assembling different things, and putting it into the AI knowledge base. And then the AI crunches all of those together and spits it back out. So you got the original term that came with computers, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. And we don't really know when we begin interacting with AI who put the knowledge together, what's the limit of that knowledge, and how do we verify that knowledge? Now, and that's one thing. Now let me muddy it a little bit, a different perspective.
I don't think you've muddied it. All you've done is, you haven't responded to what the fuck yet. You've just given us about the mechanism.
Well, AI itself is evolving because those knowledge bases are evolving, and the computers that support them are becoming stronger and more capable.
So you're saying AI, there is an AI that will have answers to these and they won't end up in puzzlement?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that humanity is creating AI based upon a limited amount of knowledge that it is able to put into that AI. And I would say that the chances are very high that if you went to different AI systems, you'd get different answers to those questions.
I bet I would not. I'm going to do that this week, but I bet my answers will be quite similar to those.
Again, depending upon those knowledge bases.
Exactly, and the knowledge bases is human beings, and we three human beings have been entertaining these questions now for quite a while, and they're consistent with what AI is saying.
Okay.
So all I'm saying is what it's not what the fuck about AI, it's what the fuck about existence itself. And I was just using AI as one tool to explore that. And what we explored is very consistent to what the three of us have talked about and come up with.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm just saying that people are beginning to look at AI like it's a thing. And it's not a thing. It's another tool that humanity is beginning to use, much like the alphabet. And we are evolving with it. It's evolving with us. And maybe the WTF questions are such that we'll never get the answers, and we never can get the answers. And that, again, jives with the things that we've been saying at the deep end for a long time.
And that was my whole point of going to AI, to see if AI would have the same kind of puzzled conclusions that we have kind of come to. So, Marianne, what the fuck?
Well, that's the question I've been asking myself for many, many years. This has been interesting, just going back and forth. And I think AI is, yes, it's pulling everything that's out there. It's not, I don't think yet it's self-generating, and that's what people are afraid of. That at some point, artificial intelligence is going to start self-generating its own thought, its own processes. But I think for right now, it is scouring everything. But what interests me the most is, what if everything that we know is all wrong? Everything that we've taken for granted is all wrong. And I think there have been other periods in history where pivotal belief systems were shown to be wrong. And it created a whole different rift, a whole different way of being in the world. And I've been listening to a lot of people talking about this right now, and a lot of people that are talking about the nature of the universe or reality, and what we are, and how we are really all part of the same thing. And it's not any different than many of those religions. What religious thought has taught for centuries. It's basically, we are an aspect of this this oneness, and we're just this reflection. Are we a simulation? I don't think we're a simulation, but I think we are. We're an experiencer of this one intelligence, or one energy source. My question again has always been, what do we do with it? What actions do we take? And the fact that we as human beings even entertain these questions leads me to think that, yeah, we should keep exploring them. We should keep trying to level up what it means to be a human being. And I think we're seeing there's this huge division happening in humanity right now, where people are trying to decide what does it mean to be a human being, and what kind of a world do I want to live in, and how much of our thought processes, how much of our own behavior is contributing to that world. And I think this is fascinating, and it's deep, and every single one of those points that you pointed out, Red Hawk, the philosophical, theological, scientific, mystical, those are all part of this. And each one of us, I think, finds our place within whatever it is, because of who we are and how our lives have been, and how we're living in this world. And that's the whole idea. Jesus said we're all one, right? We're all part of the same thing. We're all part of the same body. So the philosophical is the hand, the theological is the heart, the science is the brain, but we're all part of that same thing. And we have to learn to listen to each other and talk to each other, and figure out how to be a leveled up human.
Yeah. And, my whole thing is, even of the deep end, is what's the point? And we've come back to this. And Bob, I wasn't, the mechanism of AI, you're absolutely right. And the way I was using it as a tool is, can it tell me something that I don't already know? And it did not. And I think that confirms your point that it's put there by humans, and it's our knowledge. Now, once it becomes self-generating, that might be a whole different thing and bring a whole new constellation of what the fuck's in the thing. But we've talked here about what's the point. We've talked about evolution, and we've talked about, the universe is indifferent. At least it was for 13.7 billion years, and now I care, you care, so maybe we're the place where the universe starts caring, and maybe justice really is the next piece of evolution. And when we look at that, we have to infer back that that's an expression of the universe, just like the three essential processes of complexification, differentiation, and semi-permeability. They're part of the universe, and they gave rise to us. So for me, there are two things at play. One, what is, what the fuck? Is there a way of getting to the point of it all? And I think I'm onto something with this justice thing, and I'm not alone. The second piece is, how do we create stories and narratives and ways of looking at the things where we become more at home with the mystery? Because right now we want to push the mystery away, and it's hopeful, Marianne, you saying more and more people are engaging in this level of thinking. So it's two-pronged. One, what is the point? Can we discern it? And I've done my best to do that. And two, can we create a world where people are at home with the mystery and see it with a sense of humor as well as a sense of anxiety? Does that make sense? Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, and I agree completely with that, with what you're saying about the basic questions and so forth. My only point is, I guess I'm asking another question. Who's going to control AI? Who's going to be in charge of AI? Or are we just going to stumble forward and let natural selection make the decisions? Or how is this whole thing going to work as AI evolves and becomes more powerful in our world?
Well, I'm going to suggest that's a different episode, because what this episode is about, what the fuck, and I was just playfully using AI as a way of engaging in the what the fucks of the universe. Now, I think we should do a podcast on AI and talk about that self-generation and are we stumbling. But I really don't want to get bogged down in the weeds on that one, because the bigger question I'm trying to ask is, what the fuck? What really is going on down here? And I think AI nailed it. What happens after death? Are we alone? Why anything at all? Those are biggies, and they're ones that we've addressed here. And I was actually inviting AI to join me at the deep end, which I believe it did. And the implications of the mechanism and how we context it and control it, or don't let it control us, I don't know. I think that's a podcast that I would love to have. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to put you on that thread to lead that podcast, because you've already got some great insight into that, which I do not. So we're back at what the fuck. The big three I thought were right on. Why anything at all? Are we alone? And what about life after death? They're haunting questions. And people create giant metaphorical universes in their head to somehow address these things. And I think we're on the edge of a new way of looking at it, one that's less simplistic. Well, God made it happen. As a little 6-year-old asked me one time after church, who created God? And it just goes on and on. It generates itself to an infinite number of iterations of what the fucks. And I don't think we can know. I think this whole concept of justice and the human evolution and empathy and all that stuff gives us insight. But part of the whole what the fucks is, and again, Marianne, I think your statement made me hopeful, is how do we, so this is the next piece of the question I'm throwing you guys. How do we create a world where people are more at home with the mystery?
I think that of those three questions, there are people who believe they have those answers, and they live from those belief systems. What's happening now is, what if everything we knew was wrong? And so
that's a good one.
Right? And so you live in a belief system, and you have to be able to open up to the possibility that it is not correct, that there is something different. And there are still, even people who are discarding old beliefs are adopting new ones. I think it comes down to what is the actions that we take individually in the world, and in order to bring about what it is we want, what we want to see. And I think there's, I have a lot of hope. I hope we don't destroy ourselves. I hope that we can go to, it's not going to be without pain, but I think we can, unfortunately, but I think we can transcend. We can become what we can become what the aspirations. I keep getting stuck on that word, aspire to. You know, what is it that we aspire to? And if we want a world of justice, if we want a world of peace, if we want a place where everyone is has access and benefit to being happy, then what are we going to do to bring that about? And it's, I think we're shifting from, oh, God's going to make it happen, to, no, we need to make that happen, and we have the capability to make it happen.
Yeah. And you know, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Mother Waddles in Detroit, she's dead now, but she said, God don't work through the sky, honey. God works through the voids and deeds of human beings. And taking that responsibility, it seems to me, is huge.
Yep.
But I have a lot of Facebook friends who speak for God, and they tell you what God's telling them. And sometimes I want to go, don't you feel this is a little pretentious? But I don't.
Well, if we're all fully human and fully God, then maybe it is God speaking.
Well,
just
in
a distorted voice.
I think it's the universe speaking, and there's a, you know, if you go back to our podcasts on God, the intent and impetus of the universe herself gets revealed when we walk with that intent and that impetus, and that some great people, I think the great teachers, were tapped into that. The Buddha, the Lao Tzu, Jesus, Moses, the prophets. So
yeah, not just that we're in the universe, but the universe is in us.
That's right.
And so, yeah.
And part of the sweet medicine thing is we are the universe, and it's speaking through us. So, what's it saying? Each of us have a unique perspective, but it's still an expression of what it is. If you look at holography, every piece of film is its own perspective, and you have to put all the perspectives together to get a three-dimensional picture, if you will. It's hard. So, Bob, I'm going to give you some homework. Next week, let's do AI. And
do I have to do homework too?
I think Bob should lead our conversation in this and pose the questions, because you already posed some that I can't stop ruminating already. and how we do that.
I'll give it a shot.
All right, I think it'll be fun. You know what I mean? You have a unique perspective on this stuff that Marianne and I, do not. So, Bob, given today's what the fuck, final comments?
Well, I think that all of these what the fucks are being expressed through some 6 billion people on the world now. I lose track of how many we are, but there's an awful lot of viewpoints around, and each one of those viewpoints has the potential, the capabilities to be a conduit for the universe, and Jungian terms, to tap into the collective unconscious and to hopefully allow less distortion in the messages that the universe is giving each and every one of us. And then we get to Mary Ann's point, well, we got to interact together and decide how these messages that we're getting can work to make all of our lives better. And that maybe is the biggest WTF of all of this. Why do we need 6 billion people to ask these same questions? And what are we going to do with the answers the 6 billion answers that we get? So that's just another WTF.
Amen. And I think it was the guy who wrote Global Brain who said it's going to take 10 billion of us before it finally clicks. And the planet can sustain that. So what the fuck? I don't know. And as you were speaking, I was thinking, and all of our perspectives are twisted, turned, and everything by trauma, by life, and how do you get honest with that? And the beat goes on, and every time we reach for anything, it shoots to infinity. So what the fuck? Mary Ann, final comments?
Well, as you were talking, Bob, I just kept thinking, oh my God, that just sounds impossible. And I think that is the mindset we have to get rid of. That is not impossible, that it's possible even if we can't figure out how that could ever happen. And I think when the 10 billion of us start thinking in terms of possibilities, or 10 million, whatever number you said, start thinking in terms of possibilities rather than the impossible. We didn't even go into that third question, are we alone in the universe? Because that is a whole other piece of this too. And not just physical entities, but there's a lot of weird stuff happening in the multiverses or in these other places that we don't know anything about yet. And so I think that it's entertaining the possibility of a world of peace and justice. And I'm going with that.
Excellent. And, one of the things that I come to over and over is no matter what the three of us think, no matter what we can get from AI or any other source, I think it's a lot crazier, a lot more mysterious than anything we can even think of. I think if you had told someone about an electron 200 years ago, they would have thought, electricity? What are you talking about? Thunder and lightning? What do the whole context that we think about it is everything. And we've tried to touch on a few things, and I'm looking forward to thinking about our ways of thinking. Because, Bob, you gave me insight into this. Is AI is hopefully going to give us some different ways of thinking about stuff, not just reiterating. I watched AI write a Shakespearean sonnet about something trite in today's world, and it was beautiful. So what is the next step? Is AI part of it? I don't know. I think Bob's going to come up with some questions for us on this next week. I'm holding his feet to the fire, and I want to be blown away and totally terrified and tickled at the same time at the next level. So until then, my friends, blessings, peace, and in all things, reach for the bottomless pit.